What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Central Virginia Sport Performance Podcast. As always, I'm your host, DeMayo, and today I am super fired up to be able to catch up with a good old Atlantic 10 friend, Daniel Marshall, all the way out in San Diego. Marsh, man, how you doing, bro?
Doing well, man. Can't complain. Life is good right now.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, for the three-quarters of a human being who watches college basketball who doesn't know who Marsh is, just catch him up, man. I think the last time we talked, you were still in Arizona.
Yep.
So,
I had got there.
yeah, how has Marsh been doing, and what's brought you back out, to San Diego?
Yeah, so let's see. I spent 5 years there at ASU under Bobby Hurley, which I love my time there. Phoenix is home for me, so not just the work life, but life outside of work was amazing. Just being around my parents again, my brother, my wife is also from Phoenix, so her family is huge out there. It was a great experience, but at the same time, San Diego State is a special program, and so when this job opened, Jay Land actually reached out to me when he was headed out to Georgia Tech and just asked if I had any interest. And it's one of those, like for me, I don't look for a whole lot in jobs. I'm very specific about what I want, but it's not like a lot. So for me, it's I want a place where development is a huge piece of what that program is about. I want a place where everybody is respected, people are treated well, and that's from players, coaches, everybody, managers. I like places where everybody is treated the right way, and then obviously a program that is about the right things and about winning culture. And San Diego State checked a lot of those boxes. And then obviously being at home, I didn't want to leave. Like, I was out there on the East Coast and that was hard. Like there was a moment my mom had visited me and it had been like 2 years since I had seen her and that didn't sit right with me. So I just knew like for me to leave ASU, it would take a place that kind of checked all the boxes. And San Diego State has been that and probably more. So, yeah.
That's awesome, dude. And I think that one thing that you've had really a unique opportunity to do is not just be at three successful programs, but work with three really high level head coaches. Um, and I think that when you're talking about development in today's day and age, that starts to become even more of a challenge, really, because how long do we have to develop them in a sense? But as we move from New England at URI to ASU and then to San Diego State, what are some big lessons from the coaches that you got to work under, that you brought with you to help kind of drive that developmental mindset?
Yeah. I think starting with Dan Hurley, man, obviously the success that he's had, it's not a surprise. Working for a coach like Dan Hurley, it's not easy. I'll say that like off rip. Like you guys see how he is in front of cameras, so it's even more intense when you're in the practice gym or when you're in those staff meetings. There's a huge amount of accountability that he wants everybody on his staff, everybody in his program, honestly, to have. I watched him like if there were like not enough fans at a game, he's like trying to have a meeting with marketing to see like, do we market things the right way? Like has a vision for every single area within his program. And for me working with him, it was like, you just had to be on your P's and Q's. Like I remember there was a day he wanted me to put together kind of like a tough like conditioning, almost like a Survivor Series type day for the guys. And at the end of like put together this thing, like we went all over campus doing different stuff. And I thought it was like pretty good job. And we finish. We end up back in the arena as like the final stage, and they go through this tough man circuit. And they finish, and then at the end, like he talks to the group, and then off to the side, he pulls me aside, and he was like, "This wasn't enough. This wasn't what I was looking for. I wanted something that where we could say, did they pass? Did they fail? Like I talked to you about that. You didn't have it in there, and now like we just wasted a whole day." So I'm like,
Wow.
dang. And so yeah, it's just one of those moments where it's like he's making sure that hey, there's no moment that you can relax. There's no moment that you can feel like you've done a great job. Like I always want you looking for the next thing. What else can you do? And so that's like something that I've always carried with me. Like what else can I do? How can I provide value? There's never a time where in any high functioning program that you can just sit back and be like, yes, I've done a good job. It's like, okay, this is done. What's the next thing that needs to be done? With Bobby, Coach Hurley, Bobby Hurley, he runs his program a little bit differently. It's more similar to like an NBA style, where there's a lot more freedom for the players. There's a lot more where the players have to take onus and drive kind of their training and all that stuff. With that, it became back to like the NBA where you have to develop the relationships with the players and show them why it's important for them to be in your area and have to find ways to get creative with what you're doing with them. You know, like he's an advocate for the players. So like, for example, we had a guy that came in that was like 140 pounds, really talented player, but he hated the weight room because he wasn't strong at the time. So I went through a bunch of different stuff and things that like I traditionally didn't do, but had to find something that he and eventually, like probably from watching a lot of the stuff that you've done, I was like, all right, man, look, I know you don't like this place. Just come in, give me one set, get to 20 reps of like a bunch of these different exercises. Give me your best effort for just one set on all these different exercises. And it was something that he just fell in love with. So I'm like, all right,
That's
cool.
great.
Like you're gonna be a 1x20 guy, and it built from there to like, you know, first year that's what it was, and then he kind of like got a lot stronger. His dad made some comments about how he was looking a little bit bigger, and now it's like, all right, Marsh, I want to do something else. Like, what else can we do? And then that's what kind of started everything. Finding creative ways. Also, with Bobby, I think I learned that you can kind of compartmentalize a little bit better. Right? The loss doesn't have to carry over to the next day. Right? You keep like, and it wasn't like that with Dan. With Dan, when you have a loss, like he wants everybody to feel that loss until we get the next win. Whereas Bobby is more of a, all right, that happened. Let's learn from it. Turn the page. Move on. So I think it showed me that there's a number of different ways to be successful. And then even here at San Diego State, I mean, I went from practices where Dan Hurley's voice was the loudest, most present voice at practice, and same with Bobby at ASU. Here at San Diego State, Dutch observes and sees every single thing, but he really empowers his assistants to run the practices. And then, like, the moment Dutch speaks, nobody moves, everybody stops, they look at him, and they hang on to every single word. He's not speaking and yelling and going crazy the entire, like, he's just pacing up and down the sideline, arms folded, kind of observing everything, and he'll interject as needed. But he uses his voice. He has an immense amount of patience. So it's taught me a little bit more, but just like the patient side and catering things to specific personalities. You know, if a kid is having a bad day, you can pour on to him and make his day worse. But like Dutch is like, why would I do that? That's not helping anything. It's not helping the kid. Like, how can we help the kid? That's the most important thing. And then how can we get that to equal winning? And that's all that everybody's about here. So Very unique, different approaches everywhere, and it shows me that there's a number of different ways to success. And I think that the biggest thing is like you have to recruit to your style. And I think each of those different programs and styles, they do a great job of recruiting to that. Dan will tell a kid straight up in the recruiting process, hey, I don't know if you're tough enough to come here. Oh, that school is recruiting you, you might need to go there because they take it a little easier. They'll sit you in a zone. They'll hide your deficiencies. We're gonna attack them straight head on. So you might have to go there. Like he'll play into it a little bit. Like he knows who he is and he embraces it. Dutch has a very clear vision of who he wants to recruit. If you don't play defense or if you don't rebound, he's not going to recruit you. And he'll tell kids straight up in the recruiting process, if you don't like playing defense, there's no point in us continuing this conversation. And like I said, it works, but you got to know what your style is. You got to know what you want in your program. And yeah.
I dig that though, man. I think that all too often, I mean, especially now, right? In this kind of microwave the new team every 10 months era, that the sunshine and rainbows get thrown around probably too much instead of just being like, yo, we need this, and if you ain't gonna be it, it ain't gonna work out.
Yeah.
I can see there being a lot of power in that.
That's why I love Dutch, because I mean, shoot, this year we returned I think 8 players, which is unheard of in this landscape. But I think that comes from Dutch being exactly who he said he was in the recruiting process. Like all those players that returned didn't have the role that they wanted to have last year. But everything that they were told in the recruiting process is what they got. And I think parents appreciate that, and I think the kids appreciate that. So when it comes to development, it's like, look, we told you what it was going to be. Like, your mornings are going to be, you'll get a workout in with somebody on our staff. You'll get your lift in, and then you'll have your class, and then we'll come back and practice time. That's team time. And after that, later on in the night, if you want to get in with the manager, you can do that. But from the development standpoint, we do exactly what we say. Like there's a huge emphasis put on development of our players here.
So then how is your, I don't know if philosophy is even the word, but how you attack that development changed through your 3 stops and then through this evolution, like I would bet that Marsh the triple jumper shows up quite a bit in what you're doing now with these guys that like it because it's got to be quick, So how has that evolved? What I think would even be cool, like selfishly for me, like what stuff have you brought with you that's like survived from Rhode Island and then survived from Arizona State? Because we know that like obviously there's no way this is a plug and play situation, right? Like these guys are totally different staffs, how they play, all that stuff. So run down that rabbit hole a little bit, dude. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, yeah, my track and field background is something that like I've held dear to me my entire career. Not to go through the whole career and where I've been, but my time with Chicago Bulls, I spent 1 season there. But my track and field background is what got me there. The staff there was Nick Poppendick and Matt Johnson, and they were huge on Charlie Francis' work. And so as I was getting to know Nick, it was kind of, I was in my internship at Athletes Performance, and that's where Derrick Rose was doing his rehab after he had tore his ACL. And so I got to know Nick, and we just we hit it off, but we would be in constant communication and just talking shop. Bunch of different track philosophies, my philosophies on developing speed, my philosophies on developing strength, how to apply strength, all that stuff. That's kind of what got me into basketball, which is it's ironic. I was a track guy, and then I spent 1 season with the Bulls. All of a sudden, I became a basketball. But I would say at URI, again, it was just so different. I tip my hat to those guys. Like, we just had warriors. Like, I think about the stuff that we put them through. Like, they were so resilient. Like, those guys would have a 3 hour practice with Hurley, and then they had to lift after practices.
Ooh.
So, and like, Hurley is who he is. Like, he didn't care what he did on the court. Like, no, the weight room is important. Everybody's got to go in there. So, like, my development process then, obviously the summers were a little bit different. That was back when we had 6 hours versus 2. So I would do a whole lot of speed work with the guys. There was like some big grass hills that we had. We would do run the hills. We would do sled work. We have a nice turf in the weight room there. We would do prowler pushes, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, my philosophy hasn't really changed that much from that. Like, I believe in getting strong, but I want that strength to translate into athleticism. So for me, like, the strength, that's a piece of what we're going to do. And I think where I've evolved is at Rhode Island, we're going to back squat, we're going to trap bar deadlift, we're going to do cleans, we're going to do snatch. Like, it was all the traditional movements. I think how that's evolved is a lot of that stuff is a skill. And it hurts my heart to like say it, and like it took me some time to come to like grips with the fact that it's a skill. And when you have guys where you may have them for only 7 or 8 months, you don't necessarily have the time for them to develop the skill for those movements to lead to the biggest changes possible, right? So I think sometime early last season, I switched some things up. And some of that comes to the equipment that's available. We have a bunch of leg presses here. We have a bunch of belt squats here. And those became my primary ways of developing strength and size as well. Like, I started using the belt squat a little bit, and then I was like, all right, how can I do some high volume work with guys that may or may not have the skills of squatting? You know, obviously back's going to get tight, or technique is going to break down before you get to some high end rep work that's meaningful. So we started using the leg press, and the guys took to the leg press like nothing I've ever seen, and they attacked the hell out of what we were doing over there. So I'm like, all right, well, one, I'm not going to get rid of squats. Like, we haven't gotten rid of them. It's just I've used squats as mobility or as sub-maximal strength work while they're developing the skill. Once they get the skill, then we will use it for strength or for power or whatever. But in the meantime, I'm able to use leg press, belt squat, where the skill set or the core limiting factors don't come into play as much. And this summer, like, we made incredible changes with a lot of our athletes. Like, we had one player that's returning from he had a PCL surgery. Kid landed on his leg in game last year, tore his PCL, had surgery over the summer. And this is a 7-footer, extremely talented. Like, I think he shot 38% from 3 last year.
Wow.
He can put it on the floor. But using leg press and some super max work with the leg press, we've got him to where that right leg is now stronger than what the left leg was last year.
That's great.
Yeah. And so now we've switched them to where we're doing a lot more of the squatting, single leg, the Hatfield, rear foot elevated split squats. We still throw in traditional movements, but again, in the meantime, early phases of our training, I can still load you up on leg press or belt squat and get really good strength gains. And, you know, for all the healthy athletes, again, my whole thing is the application of that strength. So during the off season, we have a whole day where we're not even in the weight room. We're out on the field. we're doing sprints, we're doing med ball throws, we're doing bounding, and like a lot of my video you guys see, like my guys do a lot of jumping, a lot of bounding, and it's initially a shock to them, a different change for them. But to me, like bounding is maybe it's the triple jumper in me, but to me, it's like the ultimate plyometric. Like when you're able to bound really well, one, you can definitely change directions because you're getting used to creating enough force to hit and now jump, hit, now jump, land, now jump. And doing that explosively, doing it laterally, doing it Euro bounds. We do like literally every type of bound that you can think of. And like my 7-footers know how to bound and they look pretty technically efficient with it. So, yeah, for me, it's my track background is everything. I take the strength work, and for me, the strength work is just that. It's just to get us strong. But at the end of the day, I want you to be able to apply that force. How do we apply it? By sprinting, by throwing things, by jumping.
Bro, I love that. I think that, like, a lot of people have sort of come around to the idea of implementing machines again, in this new environment that we're part of. And I think that a lot of it can kind of come back to what you were getting at, and that is that it's the lowest hanging fruit. And if we don't have, like, I was really fortunate, the last couple of years, like I got a guy who was under Sanderson. I've gotten a guy that was under MJ, so it's like I get guys that I know how to train, right? But then you also get some guys who they walk in and you're like, ruh-roh, and I think that, like, there's nothing wrong with, like, we're going to learn how to squat. We're going to learn how to snatch. We're going to learn how to control ourselves in a single leg stance slow. But we're going to put enough weight on this leg press that, like, your eyes are going to bug out of your head and you're going to get after it a bit too. And I think that there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. There's a mix of learning the skill while, you're still going to train. We still got to get a training stimulus. We still got to get a training adaptation while you're learning the skill of squatting, the skill of hinging. We're still gonna get you better physically.
So then, selfishly, when you look at that track day, we'll call it, when do you do that during the week? And do you feel that one day is enough with the guys for it to transfer?
Yeah. So I'll preface this by saying on all of our other days, I sprinkle in some type of jump. So typically, like our primary block, we're going to have a lower body exercise paired with some type of plyometric jump. So they're really getting 4 days of some type of plyo. It's just that last day, and I wait until Fridays typically, and that's just because during our off season, essentially we go, depending on the week and depending on what the recruiting schedule looks like, we're on the court either Monday through Wednesday or Monday through Thursday. And so that Friday, that's like completely me. There's no basketball, no mandatory basketball. Guys might do pickup later in the day or whatever, or they might just like we'll go early in the morning. And so like if you guys want the rest of your Friday, Saturday, you can go out of town, do whatever you want to do. But I just know that Friday, there's no basketball work that's going to interfere with anything that we're doing. And guys typically like it. Like, I think in a perfect world, it would happen. Oh, hold up. Sorry. Light shut off on me. Give me 1 second.
All good, buddy.
There we go. In a perfect world, it would happen at the beginning of the week where obviously that residual fatigue, it hasn't built up. But I think it's a day that our guys look forward to. Personally, like I think it's one of their favorite days because they enjoy it. We get in, we have fun, we got music playing. Like it's a fun training environment, and it's doing things that they like to do. I think typically our guys like short, competitive sprints. Like with this year, we almost exclusively used the Prowler, and we would load it up with anywhere between like 60 to 80% of their body weight and push for anywhere between 10 to 20 yards. This past summer, it was kind of like a complex. So we would go through a whole warm up where we're doing all of our like track sprint drills. We use the bullet belt, so get them into a good forward lean while they're hitting some of their track drills. Once they hit 10 yards or 15 yards, now we're releasing them, trying to get them to maintain that positioning to accelerate through another 10 to 15 yards. And then after that stuff, then we get into what is our complex, which will go a med ball throw. So either like a overhead backwards, like we'll switch it up. We might do like ball in front, go a long jump into a vertical jump with a vertical throw. We'll do a single leg, kind of a rotational push. What else? It's a number of different throws, but we'll do some type of throw. We'll then do some type of bounding exercise, and then some type of the prowler push, and we'll kind of cycle through that five to 8 times, just depending on the day. And then that's our day. Again, not a whole lot of volume, and I stress it to our guys. Like, I think anytime you're doing something without the weights or running, guys automatically think conditioning. And I'm like, no, this is not conditioning. We are doing speed and power work today. I do not want fatigue to play any part in what we're doing. So I'll be like, oh man, I'm ready to go. Can we do it? Nope. We're getting a full 2 to 3 minutes between every single set. And I want you guys to be maximally rested so that you can attack the best that you can, be as explosive, be as powerful. I want every throw to be as far as you can. I want every jump to be, if it's a jump for height, as high as you can. If it's a jump for distance, we're competing, trying to see who gets the furthest each time. And I love just playing on the competitive spirit of the guys. And like, even with the jumps, like I'm still a competitor too. So I'll get in there with them. Like, all right, man, let's see if you guys can be the old man and jump. And they're like, hey, man, how you get so far? Now now I'm talking trash.
Google me, fellas. Google me.
Yeah. But like just that competitive spirit, like to me, like that's my favorite day. I don't know if it's theirs. I'll say it's my favorite day. But yeah, that's typically like what our outdoor day is. And a lot of that I took from, when I was in grad school, I worked under Jeremy Fisher, who for a long time was the director of jumps for USA Track and Field. And he had a day that was similar. Like it was just a bunch of different outdoor bounding, throws, short sprints. And again, like as an athlete, it was like one of my favorite days.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said like that I think like if you can do a right left bound, like truly how like you're supposed to with the cycle and the projection and all
Yep.
that, like that's truly the indicator that you have some serious single leg strength.
Yeah.
Now, obviously there's
agree.
mechanics and this, that, and the third, but like, yeah, I love the fact that you're doing it with those guys and that they're attacking it and they're getting to it, because there's so much that elastic nature of the bounds and everything can contribute to everything else.
Yeah, to me, if you can do all the bounds, you can do a lot of like our best bounders on the team, probably BJ Davis, who is as explosive and as tenacious on defense as you can get. And then honestly, Miles Heidi is really good, and Miles Heidi is a 6'9", 240-pound big man that we have that has increased his athleticism a ton this offseason. He looks like a completely different athlete. Some of the things that we've seen him do in practice that I hope he actually shows in the games, because, I mean, a guy that was pretty much like a back to the basket type big when he got here, he's now like he's grabbed the ball from the perimeter, put it on the floor, gone into a Euro step into a dunk on people in practices.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, like, but to me, it's not a surprise because he is one of our best technical bounders on this team. So
I love it, dude, and I love the fact that it's showing up, and hopefully it's going to show up when there's people there paying for tickets and getting all
he had a hell of a
crazy.
game yesterday.
That's awesome.
That he had a hell of a game yesterday.
That's awesome. Well, Marsh, listen, man, I really appreciate your time today. This has been an absolutely fantastic 30 minutes, but I gotta ask you the big question that nobody's getting out of here without getting asked.
All right,
Who does Daniel Marshall want to hear next on the podcast?
that's a good question. Let's get a younger strength coach. What about Marcus Brock
Marcus
at
Brock.
Missouri State?
Okay.
Missouri State, yeah.
All right. Marcus, be on the lookout. There's going to be some old gray-haired guy sliding in your DMs this afternoon, buddy. We excited to get that one down. Yeah, man. Marsh, great to see you, bro. I'm
You as
so
well,
happy that
man.
you're doing great. I'm so happy the family's great, man. And I'm so glad that you were able to hop on here for a little bit, bro. Always been a big fan of what you do, since you guys were bullying us here when you were at Rhode Island.
I
Uh,
appreciate it. One of my earliest memories of being in the A10 is just like the first time we played you guys, and you were like the hospitality and like your welcome to the A10. It always stood out. So I really appreciate you, man.
Thanks, bro. That means a lot. I'm really happy to hear that. And always rooting for you. Always rooting for San Diego State, buddy. And we'll be in touch real soon, my friend.
Sounds good.
Yeah, man. Cheers.
All right, take care.